first part, this first presentation is about Back on Track Italy, and I'll do it in Italian, as said. Quindi, un'introduzione a Back on Track Italia. Ok, prima domanda, perché NightTrains? Perché treni notturni? Questa è una risposta molto facile, perché tutti abbiamo sentito parlare di climate crisis e global warming, e è assolutamente necessario decarbonizzarsi e riuscire a spostarsi in modo più sostenibile, e il treno notturno è un'ottima soluzione per fare ciò, e questa sera cercherò di spiegarvi perché. Quindi possiamo vedere in questo grafico come le più grandi industrie, come l'industria dell'energia, dell'agricoltura, il waste industry, tutte si stanno decarbonizzando, eccetto per i trasporti, che non sembrano calare, e soprattutto l'aviazione internazionale è previsto che continuerà ad aumentare sia di volume che di emissioni nei prossimi anni. Quindi è fondamentale trovare delle alternative. Ok, qui possiamo vedere come il 12% delle emissioni di gas inquinanti, quindi non solo CO2, ma tutti i gas inquinanti in atmosfera, nell'Unione Europea siano prodotte dall'aviazione. E se invece consideriamo solo la CO2, siamo vicino al 5%. Ok, qui un altro grafico che ci mostra le emissioni di gas serra dannosi per la Terra, e vediamo le emissioni per passeggero di diversi mezzi di trasporto. Subito salta all'occhio come viaggiare in aereo sia 28 volte più inquinante rispetto a viaggiare in treno. E viaggiare in macchina invece è 16 volte più dannoso, emette 16 volte più emissioni rispetto a viaggiare col treno. Quindi, tutti questi numeri che adesso vi sto mostrando, questi grafici, fanno parte degli studi che noi di Back on Track abbiamo raccolto nel nostro sito, e potete trovare le fonti, e poi sul nostro sito ci sono tutti i riferimenti a questi studi. Ok, quindi perché viaggiare in treno notturno? Perché fa bene all'ambiente, però ci sono anche altri motivi, è anche confortevole. Per esempio, viaggiare con la famiglia su un treno notturno con dei bambini piccoli è un metodo estremamente conveniente di spostarsi per tanti chilometri, e evita tutta una serie di rallentamenti che si possono avere in aeroporto, come il controllo bagagli, controllo sicurezze. È molto più facile, semplicemente ti presenti in stazione, sali in treno e puoi passare una notte in compagnia della tua famiglia nella vostra cuccetta. Molto confortevole. Ok, questa è una distinzione importante, cioè cos'è un treno notturno? Vediamo sulla sinistra come alcuni si siano ingegnati mettendo un materassino tra i sedili di un normale treno giornaliero. Questo non è un treno notturno, e noi di Back on Track questa cosa ci teniamo a precisarla. Un treno notturno deve avere degli standard di comfort, deve permettere di dormire sdraiati e deve permettere di passare una notte riposante. Non può essere una notte seduto su un sedile, se no non si può considerare un treno notturno, secondo noi. Ok, questo è un altro studio molto interessante del 2022 che mostra come il 69% degli europei siano molto o fairly disposti a viaggiare con un treno notturno, e un quarto, il 25% delle persone, ha espresso la convinzione che sono molto volenterose, willing, di viaggiare con i treni notturni. Quindi questo ci fa capire come ci sia la volontà da parte dei consumatori di usare questo mezzo di trasporto. Ok, adesso facciamo un attimo un salto nel passato e diamo un'occhiata a cos'è il treno notturno nel passato e cosa potrebbe diventare nel futuro. Quindi, quando pensiamo a treno notturno, immagino che molti di voi avranno in mente questo questo è il Simplon Orient Express, è un treno di lusso che esisteva in passato e esiste tutt'oggi, è un servizio di lusso, non è quello che noi di Back on Track vogliamo per tutti quanti. Questa è un'esperienza di lusso che alcune persone possono permettersi, è bello che esista, ma non è un treno notturno come lo intendiamo noi. Un'altra cosa importante da segnalare è il fatto che in passato il network di treni notturni europei fosse molto più esteso di quanto è oggi. Se pensiamo probabilmente alla mia generazione, probabilmente i nostri genitori e i nostri nonni, viaggiare in treno notturno in Europa era una cosa molto più frequente, molto più abituale. Dagli anni 2000 in poi, con l'arrivo anche delle compagnie low cost nel mercato europeo, questi collegamenti notturni sono spariti man mano. In questa immagine possiamo vedere, questo è il network di treni notturni di Deutsche Bahn, la compagnia nazionale tedesca, che oggi non esiste più. Deutsche Bahn non opera più un singolo treno notturno, e questo era il network fino al 2003, quindi 20 anni fa. Ok, un altro grande operatore in Europa, il più grande al momento, è NightJet, che è il brand di ÖBB, le ferrovie austriache, che operano treni in tutta Europa collegando le più grandi capitali, Amsterdam, Bruxelles, Parigi, Berlino e Amburgo, e si stanno consolidando in Europa come il più grande operatore di treni notturni. Sempre ÖBB, è importante menzionare che sono stati gli unici che negli ultimi anni hanno introdotto nuovi rolling stock, quindi nuovi treni, proprio carrozze del treno, sul mercato, e questi sono i NightJet 2.0, che sono in servizio da dicembre 2023 e offrono un livello di comfort molto alto e molte innovazioni all'interno. Poi, altri operatori, commercial startups. Abbiamo qui stasera Elmer, che rappresenta European Sleeper, che è una startup, è nata come startup che voleva operare treni notturni. Un altro operatore di treni notturni che attualmente opera in Europa è Schnell Target, che opera un servizio non tutto l'anno, seasonal, da Berlino a Stoccolma e poi anche da Stoccolma verso la Lapponia. Al momento non ci sono molte altre operatori privati che operano treni notturni. E perché questo succede? In seguito Elmer ci spiegherà i RegioJet. That's a good point. RegioJet is also opera treni notturni. E comunque, perché ce ne sono così pochi? Perché è molto difficile per queste realtà commerciali iniziare a operare. In primis, la cosa più difficile è riuscire a mettere le mani su dei rolling stock. Non ce ne sono di nuovi e gli operatori che li costruiscono accettano solo ordini veramente grandi che piccole start-up non sono in grado di pagare. Noleggiare i treni notturni, che è il modello di business anche di European Sleeper, presenta molte difficoltà. Poi appunto in seguito Elmer ci spiegherà nel più dettaglio quali sono questi problemi e le criticità di operare in questo settore. Ok, quindi abbiamo prima parlato di comfort, il network è molto importante, sappiamo che se non c'è un network esteso in tutta Europa le persone non possono viaggiare col treno notturno, ma è anche molto importante cosa troviamo dentro il treno notturno. Quindi possiamo qui vedere alcuni concept. Questo qui sulla sinistra è il Railjet di ÖBB e quello sulla sinistra sulla destra-sinistra è un prototipo che non è ancora entrato in funzione e qui ne potete vedere altri. Sempre questo sono delle capsule, delle pod, quindi magari avete sentito parlare o avete visto gli hotel capsula, questi hotel in cui tu arrivi, puoi pagare, entrare nella tua capsula e dormire. Il concetto è esattamente lo stesso, ma questa capsula è a bordo di un treno che si muove, quindi anche viaggiatori singoli possono avere la loro privacy più totale e viaggiare comodamente da soli. E ci sono diverse startup che stanno progettando nuove idee, nuovi concept per queste cuccette e speriamo di vederne alcune di queste sul mercato nei prossimi anni. Ok, un'altra cosa importante è sapere cosa esiste nel network europeo, perché sono convinto che molti di noi non sappiano esattamente quali siano i collegamenti e le opportunità che il treno notturno ci dà in Europa, e qui ci viene in aiuto la bellissima mappa dei treni notturni di Back on Track che la nostra associazione ha sviluppato, e vi invito anche a seguire il link, e nel nostro sito potete trovare la versione digitale di questa mappa, in cui cliccando su ogni linea potete trovare informazioni sulla timetable del treno, dove prenotare i biglietti e anche molte altre informazioni utili per prenotare. Quindi noi vediamo questa in primis come una grafica molto bella che invoglia a viaggiare in treno, e in secondo luogo anche che fornisce ai viaggiatori informazioni importanti su come usarli concretamente questi treni notturni. Ok, moving on, andando avanti con la presentazione Back on Track, quali sono le nostre domande politiche di Back on Track? Per farla breve, molto semplice, vogliamo più treni notturni e vogliamo più treni giornalieri a lunga percorrenza. Però ovviamente non è così semplice, ci sono dei problemi. Ok, nei nostri documenti che vi ho citato prima e potete trovarle nelle fonti del nostro sito, facciamo anche dei riferimenti precisi a quali sono alcune regole o alcune cose che si possono cambiare per permettere questi viaggi in treno notturno più facilmente. E una cosa che noi chiediamo è togliere la VAT, l'IVA, sui biglietti internazionali all'interno dell'Unione Europea. Vedete nell'immagine che alcuni stati, tra cui l'Italia, già l'IVA è allo 0%, quindi non si paga l'IVA sui biglietti internazionali del treno, però altri, come per esempio la Spagna, è ancora 10%, la Germania anche non è 0%, e comunque non c'è una regola a livello europeo e ci sarebbe bisogno di una standardizzazione. Inoltre un'altra cosa che noi ci teniamo a sottolineare è che l'esenzione dall'IVA per altri settori, come per esempio il kerosene per gli aerei, esiste, e solo nel mercato tedesco vale qualcosa come 8,4 miliardi di euro. Quindi tutt'oggi stiamo ancora spendendo molti soldi pubblici per sovvenzionare il fuel degli aerei, e soldi che comunque potremmo mettere a disposizione dei treni. E quindi noi spingiamo per fare questo. Un'altra cosa che noi chiediamo è che ci sia un accesso più facile ai rolling stock, quindi che sia più facile noleggiare i treni, che attualmente non c'è una procedura precisa, ma appunto sta a ogni realtà commerciale provare a mettere le mani su questi treni. Noi vorremmo che a livello europeo ci fosse una procedura perché ogni operatore possa avere accesso più facile a questi treni e iniziare a operare il servizio più velocemente. Ok, proseguendo, adesso una piccola overview su come funziona Back on Track, come funziona l'associazione di cui sono membro. Ok, allora, questa è una foto dell'inizio di Back on Track, più o meno intorno al 2014, è nata come movimento in seguito alla notizia che Deutsche Bahn avrebbe soppresso i loro collegamenti notturni, e questo ha creato molto rumore in Germania inizialmente, e molti lavoratori anche di queste compagnie sono scesi proprio in piazza a manifestare contro questa decisione, e questi sono stati gli albori di quello che oggi è il movimento di Back on Track. Successivamente, all'inizio del 2015, c'è stato il primo meeting di coordinamento europeo. Io ovviamente non ero ancora membro all'epoca, ma questi sono i nostri membri fondatori di Back on Track, e questa è la foto del primo meeting europeo. Ok, quindi cosa facciamo? Back on Track è comunque un'associazione di attivismo, quindi facciamo grassroots activism, che sarebbe attivismo di base, e questa è una foto di un'iniziativa che abbiamo organizzato l'anno scorso, che l'abbiamo chiamata Trans Europe Pyjama Party. C'è un'iniziativa in cui in diverse città europee diversi gruppi di persone si sono ritrovati in diverse stazioni e alla stessa ora, con la stessa musica, hanno iniziato a ballare in varie stazioni d'Europa per attirare attenzione sul tema della mobilità sostenibile. Quindi sì, facciamo attivismo politico, però facciamo anche attivismo di base per coinvolgere più persone possibili. Questa è un'altra iniziativa portata avanti da Back on Track Belgium, quindi uno dei nostri gruppi nazionali. Mi piaceva menzionarla perché l'iniziativa consisteva nel creare dei poster sui treni notturni e il più bello poi ha vinto. E sì, questi sono tutti e tre molto belli, questi sono i 3 finalisti del contest organizzato e aperto a tutti. Ok, un'altra cosa che facciamo è fare lobbying a livello europeo. I nostri colleghi del gruppo tedesco in Europa sono quelli che sono più strutturati e hanno più rapporti con le istituzioni nazionali ed europee. E questa è la foto dei rappresentanti di Back on Track Germany con la ministra dei trasporti tedesca, in cui le hanno spiegato, hanno fatto un'audizione in cui le hanno spiegato i risultati di uno studio sui treni notturni, quindi dimostra come anche dalla parte politica ci sia volontà di incontrarsi con questi gruppi di attivisti e è quello che vogliamo farlo su la scala sempre più grande e sempre meglio, vorrei aggiungere. Ok, una piccola overview del nostro network attuale. Siamo presenti in alcuni paesi europei. Back on Track Italia ufficialmente ancora non esiste, però contiamo di fondarla presto. Come detto prima, il gruppo tedesco è il nostro gruppo più grande, con più di 150 membri, e poi abbiamo dei gruppi che collaborano con noi, non sotto il brand di Back on Track, ma con cui facciamo attività molto connesse in Danimarca, in Spagna e in Francia. Ok, come coordiniamo questo network europeo? Back on Track è stata recentemente formalizzata come una AISBL, che sarebbe un'associazione non profit con sede in Belgio. A dicembre i nostri 4 membri fondatori sono davanti a un notaio in Belgio, a Bruxelles, hanno firmato lo statuto e l'atto costitutivo dell'associazione. E questo è un passo importante perché ci permetterà da ora in poi di essere un'associazione più strutturata, di avere anche un accesso più facile a dei fondi, aprire un conto in banca che ci permetterà di operare su più settori. E per come ci organizziamo in concreto, facciamo dei meeting circa una volta ogni 2 mesi che si chiamano coordination meeting, sono aperti a tutti. Di solito c'è un'agenda del giorno e discutiamo di vari temi. Oltre ai coordination meeting abbiamo i nostri working groups, nello specifico comunicazioni, lobbying, reading group e map group, e questi sono gruppi separati che si organizzano per conto loro e quindi si possono incontrare una volta al mese o meno o di più e lavorano su temi specifici. Per esempio il nostro communication group gestisce tutti i nostri canali social e appunto le comunicazioni che vogliamo dare, e anche questi sono gruppi aperti, quindi invito chiunque fosse interessato a unirsi a questi gruppi sul nostro sito. Unirsi al working group è un modo per fare delle azioni concrete e iniziare a conoscere Back on Track. Ok, i gruppi nazionali come descritti da prima. Ok, come già anticipato, nel 2025 stiamo finendo di formalizzare la nostra associazione, ma penso manchino ancora un paio di firme perché sia tutto ufficiale. Una volta fondata non cambieranno le nostre attività, però si apriranno molte nuove opportunità. Il termine membro dell'associazione cambierà un po', nel senso che al momento i membri siamo noi, singole persone, parte di questa associazione. una volta formalizzata i gruppi nazionali saranno i membri dell'associazione e poi in ogni caso l'associazione comunque rimarrà costituita dai singoli membri, come è nata all'inizio. Quindi un gruppo di singoli che con a cuore una tematica si sono messi insieme e hanno cercato di produrre un cambiamento. Ok, how to get involved, come unirsi alle nostre attività, ve l'avevo già anticipato prima, però abbiamo due liste a cui ci si può iscrivere, una member list e una info list. Si può iscrivere sul nostro sito per iniziare a ricevere le informazioni sui nostri coordination meeting. Un'altra cosa che vi invito a fare è unirvi ai gruppi nazionali, quindi vi invito a unirvi al gruppo italiano, che dal prossimo mese sarà formalizzato anche quello, e vi invito a unirvi al gruppo europeo. Semplicemente potete presentarvi una volta a un coordination meeting, sentire cosa viene discusso e se vi interessa c'è la possibilità di collaborare oltre, oppure anche semplicemente partecipare e ascoltare cosa viene detto a questi meeting. Ok, per concludere vorrei parlarvi brevemente di Back on Track Italia e della mia esperienza. Quindi io mi sono unito a Back on Track Europe a ottobre. Inizialmente volevo contribuire allo sviluppo della mappa sui treni notturni. Dopo essermi unito invece mi è stato chiesto la disponibilità a creare un gruppo italiano che mancava. In Italia abbiamo molte persone che si sono iscritte alla nostra mailing list, più di 130, però non siamo mai riusciti a formalizzare un gruppo. E questo è quello che stiamo cercando di fare anche stasera, di attirare attenzione e partire con le attività di Back on Track Italia a breve. Per me anche l'occasione di questo evento, ovviamente, oltre a lanciare Back on Track Italia, era una buona scusa per tornare a casa. Io sono originario di Vicenza, e poi era anche un modo per contribuire a migliorare il mio paese e possibilmente creare delle connessioni che in un futuro mi aiutino a tornare in Italia. Ok, Back on Track Italy, alcune informazioni pratiche. What's next? Avremo in programma il primo coordination meeting di Back on Track Italia a marzo, sarà su Zoom, sarà aperto a tutti e le informazioni per aggiungersi al coordination meeting avverranno tramite newsletter, quindi vi invito di nuovo a iscrivervi alla newsletter sul nostro sito. Durante il primo meeting proveremo a fare alla stesura e alla firma del nostro statuto, e in seguito al primo meeting vogliamo creare una ODV, che è un'organizzazione di volontariato con sede in Italia. E vorrei menzionare che questo processo di fondazione dell'associazione è già stato finanziato da Back on Track Europe, che vede molto potenziale nel gruppo nazionale italiano e ci ha già fornito i fondi per iniziare le pratiche burocratiche per aprire un'associazione. Ok, grazie per l'attenzione, questi sono i miei contatti e adesso vorrei lasciare la parola a Elmer van Buuren. Perfect. He is the founder of European Sleeper, and he's gonna, today, the first European Sleeper service to Venice almost arrived. It's still a good news, a new international night connection to Venice. We are very happy to have him here. So yeah, please welcome Elmer. Thanks.
To drink this water or throw it over me because I'm falling almost asleep after being active for quite a while, so I hope you don't mind me sometimes yawning. Because I was, of course, on that first train. So I came all the way from Brussels, just like Giovanni, and also we spent quite some time before the train left because there were some last-minute issues going on. I don't have a presentation, actually, so I just do it a bit like this, and see how that works. Maybe like this, I can see it. Easy. Yeah, that should be fine. Yeah. Okay. By the way, if there are any questions, you can just ask. I think it's easy to do it in between. We don't need to be too formal, obviously. So first of all, about myself. My name is Elmer van Buuren. I am from the Netherlands, and I am the co-founder of European Sleeper and managing director. And within European Sleeper, I'm responsible for everything that has to do with our, let's say, future, our structure, with what parties do we have to cooperate, how do we shape our company, what lines do we want to develop, which countries do we want to go to, how do we do lobby, how do we do legal stuff, how do we do IT, so many things that are all actually in the end about structure. I'm not the only founder, so we have two founders. I want to introduce the other one as well, whose name is Chris Engelsman. He's not there today because he was quite tired after the journey as well, so please excuse him. He is responsible for the marketing, communication, and the sales, which is also very important. And then, of course, we have a team now of around about 17, 18 people in our company. So it's a really small company if you compare it to Trenitalia or Deutsche Bahn. But we still manage to run 6 night trains per week at this moment. And of course, we have now added the train to Italy. Well, I will get to that. What else do I want to say? Well, I've been in the railway sector for over 25 years, if I count all the small jobs. And it has been my dream to run my own train company since about 1998, when I was 16. Obviously, I was a bit young back then, but since I gained some experience, and well, here I am. So yeah, that's about me, introduction, and about European Sleeper. So European Sleeper is a company from the Netherlands, but we consider ourselves Dutch and Belgian, and that has to do with the fact that we are starting our train service at the moment in Brussels, and that has to do with some historical cooperations with other partners who wanted to serve Brussels as well. The ambitions of Brussels to be a hub in the night train network, which I think is justified. And it turns out to be a very good hub because people are actually traveling to Brussels and then taking the night train and going to their destination. We have a lot of people coming, for instance, from London, going on the Eurostar, taking the night train in Brussels. So people are really happy to travel quite long distances. Well, European Sleeper, what is also special about it, I think, well, first of all, of course, it's private, it is small, it is completely community owned so far. So we are a cooperative with over 3,900 owners, and the owners have put anything between 200 euros and 60,000 euros into the company. So altogether we have assembled like that 5.5 million euros, which helped us to kickstart the company. We have also issued bonds, so people have given us loans and we're paying them interest and paying them back their loan, obviously, which has also accrued about 3 million. So when you see how much it takes to start up this kind of company and keep it afloat for about 2 years. So we started the company in 2021 formally, so it has been existing for 4 years now. We started the idea in the end of 2020. We wanted to start running the train in 2022, but that was a little bit too ambitious. We wanted to work together with RegioJet from the Czech Republic, but it turned out that we couldn't find a good way of working together for several reasons. I don't want to be negative about RegioJet, but we just had different ideas. And that turned into, we had to completely change our plan in March 2022. One of the reasons was the war of Russia into Ukraine, which had a lot of effects also on the rolling stock market and the whole global supply chain. And basically, when we changed our whole plan, we decided to do it all by ourselves, change our booking platform, get rented carriages instead of the carriages of RegioJet, and we started our first train in May 2023. So that means in 14 months, we went from 0 to train. Since then, we have run about 500 trains. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Of the 500 trains, there is 1 or 2 that haven't run at all because there was a problem. All the others have run, at least the majority of their journey. Sometimes there are problems, big delays. Obviously, we have that. If you run a train of over 1,300 kilometers, or in the case of Venice, even I think it's 1,600 kilometers, of course you will run into problems. Of course, there will be all kinds of obstructions on the way. There will be tracks that are broken. There will be accidents and so on. But yeah, this is a little bit, you know, European Sleeper and where we are at the moment. And of course, we it doesn't stop here, right? Because we are not gonna stop with just a 6 times a week train and then incidentally a train to Venice. Maybe to say something about the Venice train first. So the idea was, in the winter season, there is not so much demand for the Prague train, and we thought, okay, if we want to bring in more money, because we need to bring in money, because otherwise we can't continue. We are not subsidized. Why not start another destination? So the most obvious one that you can do is you go to a winter sports destination from the Netherlands. That's typically Austria. And then we thought, okay, but that's boring. Everyone is already doing Austria. And it's probably going to be difficult to fill the train with just a few destinations somewhere in Tyrol. So then we thought, okay, what if we just add Italy? But then where do you go? So there's the obvious winter train destination, San Candido, or there is, you can go to, I don't know, to Bolzano, or you can go to wherever. And then we thought, maybe we just go to Venice, because it's nice, it's a beautiful city, it's probably a little bit better weather than in the Netherlands in the wintertime. There's the carnival, so why not, you know, just be crazy. We like to do crazy things, we like to grab attention. So this is what we decided. Yeah, we got ourselves into something, I would like to say, because we already had experience with running a train in 4 countries, but we did not have experience yet with running a train in 5 countries, one of which is Italy. And it turns out that there are some very special aspects to running a train in Italy. Yesterday, when I said that in our launch event in Brussels, how do I say that? I really annoyed the Italian ambassador in Belgium. So my apologies to the Italian nation about this. But it is true that if you want to run a train in Italy, there are some things that are totally different than in the rest of Europe. And one of the things is your infrastructure manager, RFI, who are part of the big Ferrovie dello Stato. They have some rules for certain stations, and the rule is you have to have 2 engines, or you have to have a train that can turn around immediately because of congestion reasons. So this applies to most stations where the tracks end. So obviously, Venezia Santa Lucia is one of them, also Roma Termini, Venezia Santa Maria Novella, and some others. We thought, okay, fine, then we ran the train to Mestre, because that's a station where the tracks don't end, so it should be fine. We looked into it, and we thought, okay, it should be possible. There are some tracks where we can go, and it looks like operationally it can be done. We had our partner check this with RFI. About 2 weeks ago came the answer, also in Mestre we don't allow this, because almost all the tracks go straight to Santa Lucia, so in the end it's almost the same. It's like you go already into the bottleneck. Okay, can we then go to Padova? Can we then go wherever, you know, as close as possible to Venice? We want to go to Venice so badly. No, you can go to Verona. Okay, Verona. Where do we park the train? You would say that there's plenty of stations around Venice where maybe there's some tracks. Trento. So I want to remind you that Trento is almost again Austria, so you have to go all the way back. Yeah? So that's anyway, we were like, okay, whatever, we do it. You know, it's just a few trains, we will do it. And unfortunately, then came the timetable. The timetable was very bad. And this is not something uncommon. So this is not something typically Italian. This is all over Europe. If you go into a new country, they don't know you. You have to get your place, and you have to be very persistent. So the first timetable you get is always rubbish. Our timetable until Verona was 10 minutes longer than the regional train. It was 45 minutes longer than the Eurocity or a Railjet train. So it was really poor. And with a change on the regional train to Venice, the arrival time would be 10 to 5 in the afternoon, which is not really a night train anymore, right? I mean, it goes through the night as well, but it's almost a full 24-hour experience, which for some people is great, and some people are like, you know, this starts to be pretty long. Anyway, that was until 2 days ago at 9 o'clock in the evening, when we received a phone call from our Italian partner who said, we cannot do it. We're not allowed. We cannot do it. We cannot run the train for you in Italy. We were like, I don't know what you're saying. This train is leaving in 20 hours. There are 400 people on board, of which 200 are going to go to Italy, no matter how, but they're going to go to Italy. We will have a launch event in Brussels with 120 people attending, amongst which the ambassador and amongst which the head of land transport of the European Commission, a whole delegation from Bolzano Alto Adige. There will be 40 journalists. What are you talking about? Anyway, we didn't have time to argue because we were 20 hours before departure. So we said, okay, the first priority is the passengers need to go to Italy. Luckily, as European Sleeper, because we are small, we have been investing a lot over the last couple of years in our network and in our, you know, we talk with everyone, including the incumbent operators. And one of our regular partners that we like to talk with is ÖBB, the Austrian Federal Railways. So the first thing I did the next morning was text my friend from the head of passenger transport of ÖBB, and I said, listen, I need you to call me because I think I need your help. And he called me back immediately and he said, okay, what's the thing? So I explained and he was like, du Scheiße. When is that train leaving? I said, tonight. No, tomorrow. And he was like, what? Okay, I'm gonna look. How many people are booked on the Railjet? I'm gonna call my colleague. I'm gonna arrange this. I'm gonna arrange that. I'm gonna call everyone. And he did it. And 3 hours later, we had the confirmation that all our passengers were allowed to go on the Railjet train from Innsbruck to Verona without anything but having to show the European Sleeper ticket. We would arrange everything behind the scenes. We were giving them free sandwiches. We were giving them drinks. Everything was arranged. All the information was present. We already had someone who bought the group ticket for the regional train from Verona to Venezia because, as it turns out, I have a colleague who I work together with in Amsterdam and who is now a consultant in Verona. So I called him up. I said, you need to go to the station in Verona and buy tickets for us. This kind of thing is crazy, but this shows how many crazy things you need to do. It's a long story, but it shows how many crazy things you need to do to run a night train. And you need to be persistent and you need to do weird things. I mean, last night I was in the train and I was walking through the train and people started asking me questions. Why do I just have one curtain? Yeah, because I need to get you another one. So I got them another curtain, hung it up myself. Doesn't matter, you know? So if you're a small company, you have to do that. Anyway, these are the challenges that we face, and that this was one of the craziest one I've ever seen, to be honest. So just to be clear, which you just have to deal with if you want to run trains through all these countries, because you don't get a timetable automatically for the whole route, as it should be according to European rules. Sorry, you don't get a long-term security that you can have that timetable. You have to apply for it every year again. These kind of challenges for us are almost normal, which I think in itself is very abnormal. That brings me to almost to what are the challenges. But I want to speak to you also a little bit about the future plans, because even though we have this kind of experience, I'm still not fed up, and neither is my team. And that means that we are hoping to launch a new train line as well. Of course, we're hoping to come really to Venice someday. We're hoping to launch maybe the new winter train next year, but then a few more times and really to Venice. We're hoping to launch a train to Barcelona. We're working already on the pilot project with the European Commission, which is Amsterdam, Brussels, Barcelona. To give you an impression, France is almost as terrible to get the timetable as Germany or indeed Italy. So it's a really difficult project. Nevertheless, out of the 10 pilot projects that the European Commission has selected, the European Sleeper pilot project is the one that is the most advancing, the most successful in the way the pilot is organized. And I'm telling you, despite that, we're almost getting nowhere. So this says something about how difficult it is to run international trains. Our future plans also include, of course, that we want to run many more trains. In the ideal world, there would be, let's say, in the western part of Europe, let's say Copenhagen and Malmö, Amsterdam, Brussels, Paris, London, Barcelona, there would be hubs where 5 to 8 night train lines per night could leave from. So we're talking about 25 to 40 lines that would run every day. And then you see the size of what this could be. We have absolutely no doubt that this is feasible and that there's a demand for these trains. Because I can tell you about the Prague train. We are running it now we are running to Prague 9 months. We are seeing an average, and I'm talking about the average throughout the year, of 400 passengers per train. Our maximum capacity is 700. But if we want to be profitable, we have to be at about 440. So we are closing in on the profitability. And I think that this proves that people want to use this kind of train, because this is the average throughout the year, right? So if you look at the summer season, it's 700 people per train that are on it. And it's amazing to see that many people take a train, I can tell you. It's really funny. Anyway, challenges in general. And by the way, if I'm talking too long, just tell me. And if you have questions, really just ask, because I talk a lot, but I'm open to questions.
I do have one.
Yeah, sure.
You were talking to us about how difficult to enter into Venice and Italian stations because of this required double locomotive. Why don't you just lease another locomotive to run this route?
We looked into that. Currently, there is one issue, but that's a temporary issue because there is a new version of the European Safety Standard, ERTMS. There needs to be a lot of updates on locomotives, so there's a very small availability of locomotives that can run to Italy. That resulted in the fact that for this particular service, the closest locomotive that we could find for this additional locomotive was in Hamburg, which means that for Venezia Mestre to Santa Lucia, we need to get a locomotive in Hamburg, which means that we need to rent it for 6 days per return journey, which means an additional cost of 13,000 euros, which is more or less ridiculous. And we just can't afford that because, you know, the train in itself, because it's just a pilot, it's a number of return journeys. It's not profitable yet. Anyway, the general challenges, and when I'm talking too long, you have to tell me, because then I'm going to finish it. Oh, okay. Yeah, have a good trip back. The challenges in general, because I already talked a little bit about it. This was just some very specific challenges, but in general, the biggest challenges I would say are 3: capacity, financing, and sales. Capacity, meaning attractive capacity that is giving you a viable commercial product that people want to use, well coordinated between countries, and long-term security. So you need to know for sure that you have this capacity for about 10 years or 8 years minimum. Why is that important? Because then I come to the topic of financing. It's not my fault that trains are so expensive. But if I want to run the train to Barcelona and I have to buy used carriages, about 35, and I have to renovate them, it will cost me about over 70 million euros to do that. Then I have carriages that I can use again for 20 years, but still the 70 million euros have to come from somewhere. Now the financial market, it has enough money, you know, the money is everywhere. But the problem is these projects are financed based on risk. So if we have projects that are less risky, then the money will go there, because the money will just, it's like water, it goes to where it's easiest, right? So if you have sectors like biofuels or charging infrastructure or housing or airports or motorways or whatever, infrastructure projects or I don't know, any big project that is easier because it's less risky, that's where the money will go. So as a railway sector, we need to become less complicated, because then we will be more attractive for investors. And 90% of the complexity in the railway sector, I can tell you by experience, we inflicted upon ourselves. It's not necessary. Also within the railway sector, there's competition between projects, because imagine I am Trenitalia and I have a PSO contract, a public service obligation contract for a regional train, and I want to buy 100 new trains, and have a government behind me, or imagine I'm the German government even, which has a better credit rating. Those projects are almost risk-free. So within the railway sector, there are also projects that are much less risky than financing a startup company that is not even profitable yet. Which, as a financier, if I look at the position of the financier, I understand it completely, because if I were the financier, I would not finance European Sleeper. Not in a million years. But this needs to change. So we need mitigating, we need measures to make sure that risk gets limited. And this can be done, for instance, by guarantees from states, guarantees from regions, or guarantees from the European Union on the InvestEU program. There are several ways how you can offer a guarantee, which means that if something goes wrong, at least the money is guaranteed. This is not an upfront payment, this is just a guarantee for in case it goes wrong. The third one is sales. And sales, in the end, the only thing that matters for financing and for mitigating the risk is the business case has to be functioning. And in order to have a functioning business case, selling ticket helps a lot. So where do people expect train tickets? They expect it with the brand that they know. In Italy, it's a little bit different because you also have Italo, which is big. But in many countries, it's like the national operator, which is the most known. So people go to SNCF, people go to Deutsche Bahn, people go to Trenitalia to buy train tickets. It's like a national public brand. It is the shop where you want to be for the time being. Of course, we have Trainline and we have that kind of apps, but they, except for a few exceptions, such as Spain and the United Kingdom, have a very small market share. So we need to be in those shops of those incumbent operators, and we need to make sure that we can sell the whole journey, because people want to buy their ticket in one place. And this is also something we need to clean some misunderstanding here, because the European Commission was really fed up with the situation. And they said, listen, we are going to build one platform for all the tickets. But this is not North Korea, so there's not going to be one platform which everyone has to use. The idea is, if you want to buy tickets, you have to be able to do it in one platform, and you can choose which platform that is. So the platform that is easiest and best will be the winner. That's the competition. But in order to do that, it means that all the operators, including the big ones who don't like this idea, need to put their offer on those platforms. And they not only need to put their offer on their platforms, they need to put the whole offer on the platform. So not only the expensive prices, but also the cheap prices. They need to put all the data on the platforms, including the real-time travel information. They need to also ensure that the owner of the platform gets a decent commission. Because if you are Trainline and you get a commission of Deutsche Bahn, for instance, that is lower than what you need to pay to your payment service provider to offer the possibility to pay with a credit card, then you're not earning money. So then it's not, and then maybe you will still offer Deutsche Bahn because it's so big that you cannot afford not to offer it, but you're actually losing money on it. And I think that's not fair. So the sales topic is super important. If we want to create a market where there are several private players also active, I think we need to solve this. And why would we want private players on the market? Maybe that's also a good one to answer very quickly. The reason is not because competition is a goal. Competition is a means to an end. If you look at the telecom sector or if you look at aviation, you see that, of course, due to the pluriformity of the offer, you will see that you have a choice. You will see that you can go for the cheap option, you can go for the more expensive option, you can go for different levels of quality, and in the end you have something to choose as a consumer. And I think that is the reason why competition is good. In that case, more consumers will be attracted to the rail sector. We can make the pie larger together with each other, and then everyone has more pie to eat. And this is, I think, in the end, the reason why competition is good and better than dominant market players. Now, the last things I want to mention to you is about lobbying, which was already said by you, Giovanni. The importance of lobbying, because lobbying is sometimes it's frowned upon a little bit as if lobbying is something dirty. It can be, but it's also important because it's very important to make it known to politicians and what are the important topics. Many politicians are not experts, right? So lobbying is important, but what is also really important is this grassroots activity kind of lobbying that you just explained, because the revival of the night train in Europe, which was due to the Austrian railways, but also due to Greta Thunberg with the Fridays for Future movement, due to the fact that people were sleeping in sleeping bags on platforms because they didn't have a train to sleep in, and that woke up local politicians, it woke up the press, and it somehow started to create an avalanche of attention, and somehow the night train was a very huggable object, and people started to talk about it. So it created a sort of buzz, and this is really what the grassroots movement did, despite the fact that you might think, well, I don't know if we have that much influence. Yes, you do. Last thing about lobbying, often I hear, Europe should do this better. Europe is not doing anything. The only thing Europe is doing is creating legal frameworks with which the member states that participate in the European project can then organize things in a harmonized way. But that is the main goal of Europe. So they are creating a shell in which we can operate. And in the end, the member states of Europe are the places where the real important decisions are taken, such as on investment in infrastructure, such as on how the infrastructure manager works and if they do their job properly. If RFI is not talking with ÖBB Infrastructuur, it's someone in Rome that needs to tell them, hey, you need to do your job better, and not someone in Brussels, right? So the member states, that's where it's really happening, and that's where the focus should also go to. And one last layer of government, which we maybe should put to use in the time to come, if the member states are not receptive to our activity, is the regions. Because what I see is that Europe is more and more becoming regionalized, and regions, metropolitan areas and regions are becoming more and more vocal in what they want because they are a bit closer to the citizens. So they have a bit better understanding, apparently, of what citizens need. And they increasingly are asking me, for instance, when can we expect a night train to Lyon? Or if I want to achieve a night train to Barcelona, I speak to the region of Catalonia. I don't only speak to the ministry in Madrid. And they are super enthusiastic. So I think we should use that enthusiasm. I mean, today in our first train and on our launch event, there was a delegation of 7 people or so from Bolzano Alto Adige present. They were also supposed to be on the platform in Bressanone with all kinds of important people. They were supposed to go on the train, take photos, etc. It's just that there was no train. So we said, maybe don't, because it's going to be a weird photo with the ÖBB Railjet. But they are so interested in this kind of projects that I think we should use that energy to achieve our goals. I think with that, I've come to the end of my presentation.
Okay, so for today, we want to present another initiative that we, Back on Track Italy, think it's very interesting. Unfortunately, Lorenzo, my contact at Erasmus by Train, could not be here today, but I'm happy to present some slides that he sent to me and let you all know what this student-led association is about. Okay, so where are Erasmus students going? We can see that France, Italy, Spain, and Germany have the highest number of inbound and outbound participants in the Erasmus program. And also we can see how these countries that are generating most trips for Erasmus mobility are bordering each other. And still, there's a very limited offer to travel by train between these countries. One example is France and Italy, that today there is no direct train connection, but from 1st of April, fortunately, the Frecciarossa service and TGV is going to resume service after the avalanche that blocked the line in the summer of 2 years ago. So the current situation, 70% of Erasmus students travel today to their destination by plane. And this is a huge number, also considering what we have seen before in the other presentation, that European citizens are very willing to travel by train, especially younger generation. So when we talk about Erasmus mobility, that is the core of the student in the European Union, it's very bad to see that 70% of them travel by plane. Also, another thing to add is that traveling by plane, it's many times can be more expensive and especially more complicated, because let's think of a student that is going abroad on a mobility period for 6 months. For sure, he or she is going to need to bring a lot of stuff, a lot of luggages, and going to an airport with that amount of luggages, I can assure you it's a much more painful experience than doing it by train. Okay, as just cited, this data from Erasmus by train shows how almost 60% of Erasmus Plus participants would prefer to travel by train for their mobility period, but unfortunately only 1 out of 5 managed to do it. And yeah, why taking the train is the best option, also mentioned before, but traveling sustainably. Also in this specific context of student mobility, exploring Europe and experience of travel is a big argument, because it's the whole point of Erasmus mobility is to go abroad and see new culture and meet new people, and which better way of traveling by train to do that? Okay, so some information about Erasmus by train. As said, Erasmus by train is a student-led initiative which aims to create an Erasmus Pass transport ticket for a more sustainable, united, and fairer Europe. The main goal is to get a free, sustainable transport ticket for the inbound and outbound journey of all participants of Erasmus Plus mobility program. Okay, what has Erasmus by train been doing so far? They have been present in the social media. I really encourage you to follow their Instagram account. They post really useful content. They also have a media presence. They are also lobbying with media institutions to spread their message. And then, last but not least, they are also organizing events, such as the one we are doing here today. And the main scope is to inform students about the possibilities of traveling by train for their Erasmus. Yeah, as said, influence and lobbying, and also supporting students, because this is another important part of their activity. Erasmus by train supports single students that wants to know more, wants to find more information. So if you are in this situation, or you know some friend that would like to do this, would like to travel by train to their Erasmus destination, please refer them to Erasmus by train. And my friend Lorenzo and all the other members of the association will be more than happy to provide information to do that. Okay, so this is an overview of a new Erasmus Plus guide. So in these new frameworks, all travel to Erasmus destination are now subsidized. And you can see in the table how so subsidized by European Union, so through European Union funds. And you can see from the table how different travel distance are connected to different travel reimbursement. And also how in this reimbursement there has been a differentiation between a sustainable mobility, a green mobility options such as the train, and a non-green travel such as taking the plane. So This is a great initiative that Erasmus by Train fully supports, and that allows students to get money back and also to be rewarded, in this case with money, for choosing a more sustainable option. Some countries are already within this new reimbursement schema, such as Germany, Italy, and Czech Republic. My bad, I'm sorry. Some countries are outside of this reimbursement schema. So unfortunately, Italy, Germany, and Czech Republic students cannot get reimbursed yet to travel more sustainably to their Erasmus destination. But yeah, this is of course something Erasmus by Train wishes to change, and this is also one of the reasons why they are lobbying and trying to promote more sustainable mobility. Also, another problem could be that many institutions, such as the university, are currently not aware of this reimbursement schema. I myself was not aware. I traveled by train a lot, and when Lorenzo showed me this, I had no clue this existed. So maybe if you are a student, it's also a good idea to just email your university secretary and just ask, hey, what about this program? How can we get reimbursed? I think that would be a good concrete option that everybody can do. Another initiative that is an Interrail ticket for Erasmus students. So Eurail, in collaboration with ESN, that's the International Erasmus Student Network, and Eurail is the company providing the Interrail pass, have been collaborating to create a new Interrail pass that allows students to travel to the destination by train with an Interrail ticket. And one changes from the regular Interrail ticket is that this specific Erasmus ticket is longer. It lasts for a longer period of time, specifically 6 months. And it includes either 4 or 6 days of travel. So also leaving you most probably some travel days to travel to other destinations. What could still be improved? The new 6 days pass is actually more expensive than the previous 7 days pass. This is, of course, not good for the wallets of the students that are notoriously not rich. And as said before, not all the students have currently access to the new top-ups. Okay, so if you want to travel in Europe by train, how to do it? You can either book the trip yourself or using an agent. The comfortable option would be to use an agent. However, of course, you need to pay a fee for their service. Also, another difficult thing about traveling in Europe by train is to find connection. And of course, also Elmer explained to us why this is a problem currently. So Erasmus by Train suggests you to use Deutsche Bahn app to check for your railway travel. It is currently the most up-to-date railway planner app with the most updated information. If you want to look for NightTrains, and I thank Lorenzo for the sponsorship, look on our website of Back on Track. Have a look at our website, NightTrain maps on our website. That also, if you click on the line, it also tells you where to book ticket and where to find the timetable and all the information you need to book your first night train. And another suggestion to book your first railway trip in Europe as a student would also be to check the website seat61.com, the man in seat 61. That is a very up-to-date travel blog with a lot of information to reach all the destinations in Europe. Okay, booking ticket. When you need to book the ticket for your mobility period. So if it's a regional train, probably not necessary to book in advance. You can book as you wish. Instead, for high speed and long distance and night train, in most schemas we have airline style ticketing system. So we suggest you to book as early as possible to get the best fare for your trip. Also, there's no single place to buy point-to-point pan-European journey. And to book a full itinerary, you would have to go into the single operator website and book all the leg of your trips. Okay, another thing to be aware of your rights. Journey on one ticket are covered by the CIV. That means that if you book your trip within one single ticket and you miss a connection or something happens, you would be able to just hop on the next train. Instead, if you had booked single ticket with different operators, if you miss a connection, then most probably you will be on your own. So this is a tip that is always valid. Try to book one single ticket for your trip. And also visit erasmusbytrain.eu to learn more. Okay, this leads us to the end of this short presentation about Erasmus by Train. As said before, please follow them in all the social network, especially the Instagram account, in which you'll find useful information and fun content. Also, another thing that Erasmus by Train encourages you to do is to share your experience with them. So either by yourself or following their tips, you manage to do your Erasmus mobility period, traveling by train or traveling by other sustainable means of transportation. Please share with them, and they will be more than happy to repost your story in their channel. And here you can find the details also from Lorenzo, that was the person who sent me this presentation.